Hey there, little soldier. Why are you crying all alone out here? Where's your mama? 33-year-old Cypress Donovan knelt on the cold pavement beside the small boy huddled against the park bench, his own weathered military jacket pulled tight against the November wind. The child, maybe 4 years old, with tear-streaked cheeks and trembling shoulders, looked up at him with frightened eyes, clearly lost and terrified in the gathering dusk. I can't find my mommy," the boy hiccuped, his small voice breaking. "We were at the playground and I chased a dog and now she's gone and I'm scared." Cypress's heart clenched. He knew fear intimately, had felt it in combat zones overseas, felt it every night sleeping on park benches, felt it in the eyes of strangers who looked through him like he was invisible. But this child's fear was different, more immediate, and despite having nothing, Cypress knew he had to help. "Okay, buddy, we're gonna find her," Cypress said gently. "What's your name?" "Atlas," the boy whispered. "That's a strong name. I'm Cypress. And look, I've got half a sandwich here, still warm from the shelter. You hungry while we wait? Your mama's probably looking for you right now, and she'll find us quicker if we stay put and you stop crying, okay?" He unwrapped the sandwich, the only meal he'd eaten that day, and split it carefully, handing the larger half to Atlas. The boy accepted it with trembling hands, taking small bites while Cypress kept watch, scanning the darkening park for a frantic parent. What Cypress didn't know was that 29-year-old Sable Grayson, one of the city's most prominent civil rights attorneys, was indeed frantically searching, her usual composure shattered by the terror of losing her son. She turned her back for 30 seconds to answer an urgent work call, and Atlas had vanished. She was sprinting through the park now, her expensive heels abandoned, her voice hoarse from calling his name. When she finally spotted them, her son sitting beside a homeless man, sharing food, her first instinct was protective fear, but something made her pause. Atlas was laughing softly at something the man was saying, the tension gone from his small shoulders, clearly feeling safe. "Atlas!" Sable cried out, rushing forward. "Mommy!" Atlas jumped up, running to her, and Sable swept him into her arms, tears streaming as she held him close. When she looked up at the homeless man who'd stayed with her son, she saw him gathering his meager belongings, preparing to leave quietly. "Wait," Sable said, her voice still shaking. "Please, I need to thank you. You kept him safe. You gave him food. How can I repay you?" Cypress shook his head, uncomfortable with her gratitude. "No repayment needed, ma'am. Just glad he's okay. Any parent would have done the same." "But you're not. You didn't have to." Sable gestured at the sandwich wrapper, suddenly understanding what his kindness had cost. "That was your meal, wasn't it? Your only meal?" Cypress shrugged, his eyes kind, despite the hardness life had carved into his features. Kid was scared and hungry. I've been both. Seemed more important he have it than me. What Cypress didn't share, what shame kept hidden, was that he was a decorated veteran who'd served 3 tours, who'd come home with PTSD and injuries that made regular employment impossible, who'd lost everything when the VA benefits got tangled in bureaucracy and his landlord evicted him. He'd been living on the streets for 8 months, invisible to the city that once celebrated his service. And what Sable didn't immediately reveal was that she'd built her legal career fighting for veterans' rights, had won landmark cases against the VA for benefit denials, yet somehow hadn't connected the abstract legal victories to the real human beings sleeping on her city streets.
"What's your name?" Sable asked, something shifting in her lawyer's mind, a connection forming between this kind stranger and the cases she fought daily. "Cypress Donovan, ma'am." Sable's breath caught. "Donovan? Are you, by any chance, related to Staff Sergeant James Donovan, the soldier who died saving his unit in Afghanistan?" Cypress's eyes widened with shock and old grief. "That was my brother. How do you—" "I represented his widow in her benefits case 3 years ago," Sable said quietly. She mentioned a younger brother who'd also served, who'd struggled after James's death. "Are you that brother?" The pieces fell into place with painful clarity. After James died, Cypress had spiraled, the guilt of surviving when his brother hadn't, the PTSD that made civilian life impossible, the cascade of losses that led to homelessness, and here was the lawyer who'd helped his sister-in-law but never known about him. "Ma'am, I appreciate what you did for Sarah," Cypress said, his voice thick. "She and the kids deserved that support. I'm managing fine." "You're not managing fine," Sable said gently but firmly. "You just gave your only meal to a stranger's child. That's not fine. That's sacrificial kindness born from desperation." She paused, making a decision that would change both their lives. "Cypress, I want to help you, not out of pity or guilt, but because what you did for Atlas tonight proves you deserve the same compassion you showed a scared little boy." What unfolded over the following weeks was careful, dignified assistance. Sable connected Cypress with proper VA representatives, helped untangle the bureaucratic nightmare that had denied his benefits, and found him temporary housing while his case was processed. But more importantly, she hired him part-time at her law firm, not as charity, but recognizing his skills. He had a degree in social work from before his service, understood veteran issues intimately, and could connect with clients in ways her expensive degrees never could. Cypress was wary at first, expecting the help to evaporate or come with strings, but Sable proved consistent, professional, and genuinely invested in his stability, and Atlas adored him, calling him Mr. Cypress, and insisting he come to dinner, play at the park, be part of their lives. "Why are you really doing this?" Cypress asked one evening after a family dinner at Sable's home. "I know it's not just about the sandwich."
Sable was quiet for a moment, watching Atlas show Cypress his toy soldiers. "Because I've spent years fighting for veterans in courtrooms, winning cases, celebrating legal victories. But until I saw you with my son, until I witnessed that kind of selfless compassion from someone who had every reason to be bitter and self-focused, I didn't fully understand what I was fighting for. You reminded me that behind every case file is a human being capable of extraordinary kindness, despite extraordinary suffering. And that person deserves to be seen, valued, and supported." 6 months later, Cypress stood in Sable's office, now as a full-time veterans advocate on her team, his benefits restored, his life rebuilding. He was helping other homeless veterans navigate systems he'd survived, using his experience to fight for those still invisible. "You know what I think about sometimes?" Cypress said to Sable during a quiet moment. "If Atlas hadn't gotten lost that day, if I hadn't shared that sandwich, I'd probably still be on that park bench, invisible. One small act of kindness created this entire chain of change."
"It wasn't small," Sable corrected gently. "You had nothing and still chose to give. That's not small. That's profound. And it taught my son something I couldn't teach him in 100 conversations. That goodness isn't about what you have, but about who you choose to be." Atlas, now 5 and thriving, still insisted on splitting his snacks with Cypress, explaining seriously, "Because sharing is what friends do." And Cypress, tears in his eyes, would accept the offered half, remembering the night when sharing his last meal had given him back his future. Because kindness doesn't calculate what we can afford to give. It simply sees need and responds, trusts that caring for others matters more than protecting what little we have, believes that our shared humanity transcends circumstance or status. Sometimes sharing our last sandwich with a frightened child doesn't just comfort them, it saves us both, proving that the smallest acts can ripple outward in ways we never imagine, transforming lives and reminding us all that we're never too broken, too poor, or too lost to make a profound difference. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.